Yes, good morning. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very much for tuning in. Manchester United's transfer budget has been revealed by a number of media outlets, and it is not good reading. It is not good reading if you're a Man United fan. It is not good reading if you expect big summer deals. Without losing very many of the star players that are currently in this squad. Manchester United have also reportedly made a big decision in the last few days over Cristiano Ronaldo, who is seemingly going to be made available by Juventus at the end of this season. We're going to go through both of these stories with you. We're going to take your calls. We're going to go through your comments. Make sure you hit that like button. Do it now would be great, or at the end. Either way is amazing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and turn on the bell notification button that is next to it so you are notified and you know exactly when we're going live. Aside from that, if you want to join the best football community on the planet, the link in our description below to our Discord server is available. Join up now, 24 hours a day, football conversations, stats, news, banter going off in there all the time. Join it now. It's free of charge, and we can't wait to see you in there. Morning, Dinesh. Hope you're well. One of our members there saying good morning to everyone. David as well, another member of the Football Terrace. And are you okay? Okay, I don't know what I didn't know what you said about the United stand. Okay, cool. Yeah, big up the United stand, man. Big up the United stand. Amazing platform. A lot of you talk to each other in here sometimes, and I don't always know what it is that you're saying and what you're talking about. Okay. I'll go to some good morning stuff. Some of it I never get. DJ here says good morning, Terry, and everyone in the chat. So bad news on Man United transfer budget. Why am I not surprised? Well, and we'll delve into that part of the story first and foremost. Really, I'm going to put it up on my screen in front of me so I can actually read this properly. But essentially, while Man United are being kind of looked at as being one of the richest clubs in the world, the transfer budget reportedly this summer is going to be a measly £80 million. £80 million is the sum available to spend or to commit to spending on players. Now, as we know, a lot of that money won't be paid out in cash lump sums. There'll be some amounts paid out initially. The rest will be paid in installments over the length of the contract, like every other transfer. But in terms of total amount being able to be spent on new players, it's £80 million. The club is then looking to raise somewhere in the region of £60 million through the sale of players. Only around 30% of that, around 50% of that, so £30 million will be made available for additional transfers. So if United are able to sell all the players they want to get rid of, there'll be a sum in the region around £110 million that's required. Now, why I say this is bad news for Manchester United is very much this. Jadon, Sancho or Haaland, two of the biggest names that we're supposedly targeting. We've settled that Haaland's the main guy. They're going to cost you almost that anyway. That's the budget almost eaten up. People want CDM. People want a new centre-back. People want cover at right-back. None of that is plausible. The £60 million Man United are looking to save or raise, some of that will be squad players or some of the first teamers that are not considered the stars by the masses. The only other way I see is, so that could be getting rid of, Juan Mata leaving, freeing up his salary, Phil Jones leaving, freeing up his salary. I imagine that Eric Bailly might be sold this summer, and they might try and use some of those funds to sign a new centre-back, as it were. And I think Eric Bailly is a brilliant defender, by the way. I just think there's issues surrounding his fitness and being able to play him on a regular basis. The only way I can see with this transfer budget, us bringing in stars, is by selling stars. And the issue that we have with that is that it's always one step forward, two steps back with Manchester United Football Club. For us to be able to land Haaland and land a top midfielder, let's say an Ndidi, let's say a Declan Rice, and there's a lot of talk about a CDM being a primary target. It's only going to happen if the likes of Pogba and Martial are sold. Now, the problem is, if you're selling Martial and you're selling Pogba, yes, if you then bring in Sancho and you bring in Declan Rice or Ndidi, you're bringing in quality. But it's like for like quality. Maybe, you'll get different kind of benefits from a Declan Rice to a Pogba and a Sancho to a Martial. But overtly, we're not improving the depth in this squad. And we will still face the same issues moving forward. That once players become a bit fatigued, or once players get an injury, the quality behind them is going to be lacking. an £80 million transfer budget that will only be increased with the sale of our stars is never going to yield the results we need to move forward, especially when we have a manager of the level of Ollie. When we have a manager at Ollie's level who isn't the best tactically, who isn't the best in-game decision maker, who doesn't play the best football, it's impossible for us to raise our game. Now, the most embarrassing part of this is that the board, and we've had Dean Jones has come out and confirmed this, are happy with what Ollie's done. Top four is fine. So all they're going to look to do is make signings every year, and they'll put a budget aside each year to keep the squad to an adequate level in their mind to keep us in the top four. That's where Man United are right now. It's shocking news to me, and it's terrible news to me. Aside from that, the Cristiano Ronaldo news has floated around in the last few days, but that's quite simple. Man United won't be pushing to re-sign Cristiano Ronaldo. There's no mileage in wanting to do that. The biggest reason being is the salary. He would still command over £350,000 to £400,000 per week. It'll cost a little bit of money to bring in. The age that he's at, Man United want to try and set their sights on signing a star name for the future. They are going to go all out for Haaland. I don't think they'll land Haaland, but that is what they're setting their sights on. So the Cristiano Ronaldo news, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. There is absolutely zero chance of him joining Manchester United at this moment in time. So as it stands right now, United are not even going to look at Cristiano Ronaldo. I think the Cavani situation is what slightly put them off. Cavani, very talented player, but he's on lots of money, injury issues at his age, 2 or 3 injuries in the club already, and looking to move on at this point. Man United want to try and bring somebody in that they can build a future around. Not a future, by the way, to win league titles, just to keep us in the top 4. And that's why I don't think, that's one of the biggest reasons I don't think we'll get Haaland. I think it's one of the biggest reasons why Jadon Sancho has people behind the scenes advising him not to join Manchester United. We had one of the world's leading sports consultants on this channel a few weeks ago who said exactly that. That people are advising them not to join Manchester United because there's no ambition to win league titles. And they think it says a lot about players that join us over other big clubs who want to win league titles. It's damning news this morning. It really, really is. I want your views. I want your opinions. Please hit that like button for us right now. We're going to get KJ on in a few moments. Then we're going to share the link on the Discord server. So go through our description below. Sign up to it now. Only take you a few seconds. The board at Man United, man, seriously, it's awful. It's awful. And it's like I said before, I called out a lot of Ollie outers yesterday. Not in a horrible way. It's all in jest. But I hear 2 trains of thought from Ollie outers all the time. 1 minute they say he's a puppet. The next minute they say he's in complete control. All the players in, out, and renewing contracts are down to him. I hate to break it to them. You can't be a puppet and be in control at the same time. It's oxymoronic. They simply cannot coexist. I'm happy to accept he's a puppet. I'm happy to accept that he's in control. I'm not happy to accept both those things at the same time. My view is, I wouldn't actually call him a puppet. I think he's doing the best of a bad situation to keep Manchester United's head afloat. I'd rather an Ollie. I want someone better than Ollie as a manager, but I want anyone who comes in to have Ollie's attitude towards the club of trying his absolute best to save a sinking ship. And I think sacking Ollie, the more I start to think about it, I get this. I want to bet. This is the worst bit for me. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, between the frying pan and the fire. I want a better technical coach than Ollie, but I'm scared that somebody else coming in could see us drop outside the top 4 again and fall further from grace with the way we run as a football club. Oh, Terry, that was funny. Oh, listen, as I said, people are so on Ollie's neck. They just hypocrisize themselves every day. And as I say, I'm not defending Ollie. I'm just trying to understand what the problems are. And 1 minute he's a puppet and the next minute he's in complete control. Can't be both things at the same time. Completely, it's a mathematical and scientific impossibility. It really, really is. A comment here says, have you come across who? No. I don't know who that lad is. No, I don't know who that individual is, bro. Sorry, Terry. This is from another one of our members. Says, Terry, don't you think this is just a strategic move from them to not overpay for players playing broke? If we sign the big summer signings, come chat to me and I'll apologize for being wrong about this. But no, I think this is the Glazers being the Glazers, being the Glazers, being the Glazers. I don't think there is going to be big budgets. And the reason that I say that is because we've seen this before. If you, generally speaking, look at the summers after we make the Champions League and look at the amount of money spent versus the amount of money that's coming in for the sale of players, we spend a hell of a lot less. Making it 2 years running, getting into the Champions League 2 years on the bounce, they're going to say, well, look, we're second. And especially if we end up finishing clear of others. And we may sign new players, but I believe we're going to see 2 or 3 casualties in terms of stars as well. If we are looking to add Haaland, and we are looking to add Declan Rice, and we are looking to add Max Aarons as cover at right back, great. But add that to what we have already got. Don't take 2 or 3 pieces of quality away, but the club will. One, to raise funds to buy individuals, and secondly, to lower that wage bill. They are cutting costs. Man United are austerity FC all the time. Absolutely all the time. No doubt about it whatsoever. Ita says, what does he say here? I want Messi. I don't want Ronaldo. He's finished. Messi still has something. Ronaldo scored a hat trick the other day. He's still a very good player. Wanting Messi is just, I think that sums you up, Ita. You want a player that's impossible for us to sign. There's not a catch chance in hell of him coming to the club. So what you need to do is stop thinking about wanting Messi, because it's only going to make you angry when it doesn't happen. But you're getting angry over not getting something you want that was never going to happen. That's weird, bro. That's weird. It's as simple as that. You're the guy that wanted your club to get rid of Deadwood. Now you're not happy. I'm not saying anything about getting rid of Deadwoods. Getting rid of players that are not good enough has never been an issue. Getting rid of players that are good and not backfilling with quality, or getting rid of quality players and only replacing like for like, because Man United needs strength in depth. So let's just say Anthony Martial leaves and we replace him with Jadon Sancho. Some will say that's an improvement. Fine, I'll accept that. What happens if Jadon Sancho gets injured? Dan James still comes back in. Man United need better strength in depth. What I would like to see, if Martial left and it raised 60, 70 million, and with that 60, 70 million, we put that toward buying Jadon Sancho and we went and got Rafinha. And then it's like, wow. And maybe then you let Dan James go as well. That way, you've improved in both your backup and your front end. That's what Man United need to aim to do. So there is better strength in depth. It isn't about, I don't want, like, selling Phil Jones isn't a problem. But if you sell Phil Jones and you get rid of Rojo and you get rid of Eric Bailly and you just bring in Ben White, I don't necessarily think you've improved the overall quality. It's like, nah, we got rid of, what we've done is save money on Saturday. It doesn't work. You need to improve the quality whilst replacing them. It's fairly simplistic to me, and maybe I'm wrong. Thank you, Michael. There, we're going to share the link now in the chat room here just below. We're going to pump that into the chat for you to come on and have your say. As I say, make sure you are smashing that like button right now. Let's get this past 250 likes while we are live on the air, people. You can't ever please people, Terry. Terry, you big up the clubs like Chelsea and Liverpool's owners and bring the Glazers down. Well, that's because the Glazers are not trying to win the league. The other two are. I can accept mistakes. I can accept not buying the right players. I can accept on occasions bringing in the wrong manager. What I can never accept is the lowering of the standards of Manchester United Football Club. And that is what this board have done. So it's not going to happen. Matthew here says, taking 30 million from 60 million, let me guess, to put into the Tampa Bay Bucks. Well, listen, I mean, I don't quite know how the NFL works. I'm never going to claim to be an expert in it, but I know there's like a salary cap, etc. So there's only a certain amount they can spend. But I've just seen some tweets recently about how much money they're going to be paying the likes of Tom Brady next year. And it's colossal. It's leading. They're trying to re-win the Super Bowl. That's the attitude I want to see towards Manchester United. They're not doing it. I want to see them sell £100 million worth of A-class shares and pump it back into the football club. Do you know the irony is this? If they sold £200 million worth of shares and they injected every single penny into the club, fixed the roof at Old Trafford and £150 million for new players. Let's re-sign Pogba. Let's bring in Rafinha. Let's get Sancho. Let's get Haaland. Let's get Rice. Say they did that, the share price is going to grow, and their other shares are going to be worth even more money anyway. But they ain't doing that, are they? They ain't doing it at all. They're not doing it in one little bit. We're gonna get some good callers on here. We've got man like Josh backstage. Haven't seen Josh in ages on the terrace. Can't wait to get Josh on and have his say. KJ's here as well. Ads is on. Let's get the panel. Let's get some of the panel now, people. Let's do this. Yes, gentlemen. How you doing, Josh? Welcome. Hey, how you been?
Yo, what's up, everybody? I just wanted to say good morning. I feel like it's afternoon there right now, but I just wanted to say what up. I've been watching the show this entire time, and I just want to give my apologies to Terry because I had a little hiatus. Me and the missus moved into our new dig, so just focusing on that. It's a new adventure, so just ready to get back to content creating.
Hey, mate, come on now.
Big up yourself. Congratulations for moving into the new place as well. I'm liking the artwork as well behind you as well, bruv.
Appreciate it.
Black Panther theme going on there. I see a bit of Batman and some other bits and pieces. Yeah, man. But in terms of this sort of news this morning, that only £80 million is going to be available to spend this summer, what kind of message do you think that sends to the rest of the Premier League?
All right. So I hope that it is posturing. So hopefully it is Ed Woodward still being savvy as a businessman, being like, we're not going to be bent over like how we have before. So it's kind of like how you and, KJ are having the conversation that, okay, this is the process working. So just because we have a new structure, the rest of the league and the rest of the world, in terms of transfers, we're not going to be bent over. We're going to have a more logical and methodical process as we enter the transfer window, unless it's going to be the same as always. And then unfortunately, I feel like all of our fan base is really not going to have it because we're like this close to being like, you know what, we're not going to settle for being Arsenal with all due respect.
No, I agree. How about yourself, KJ? I mean, it's horrible news to sort of wake up and read that the club's only looking to spend around 80 million. Do you think this is the club trying to posture, as Josh said, or do you think this is just them, the Glazers being Glazers?
First of all, I want to say good morning, everyone. You know what I mean? I hope everyone's good morning, including Woodward's burner account. Woodward's burner is in the chat. I see you. I've seen you in there, you Glazer simp. But it's all good, man. It's all good. I hope you're well. I see you all the time, my brother. Anyway, you know who you are. Listen. This 80 million budget, yeah, it may not be exactly 80 million. It could be 75, it could be 85. But it's in that realm of they are not looking to spend over to make sure this squad is good enough. I personally believe that they're doing the buy to sell model that we've seen over the past season. That's what they did their big spend when we were out of the Champions League. Now that we're looking to get back into Champions League again, the one thing I was saying at the start of the season is, we haven't gone to consecutive back-to-back qualifications for the Champions League since Fergie left. We were potentially going to do it for the first time, and at the start of the season, I was hoping that was a indicator for the ownership and the structure to be like, okay, we've got something here. All we need to do is spend a little bit more, and we can definitely challenge for the title. As the season's gone on, we've seen what they're about. We see what they want. Listen, them man ain't caring about no league title. They're going to be happy with the consecutive Champions League, and they're going to spend as minimal as possible to make sure they get the Champions League again next season. Josh, I wish I was like you, but I'm hoping for the bluff. But we can't trust it, bruv. You know what I mean? Their bluff, yeah. Their bluff is saying we're gonna pull our trousers down and pulling their trousers down. Like that is their kind of bluff. That's why I don't trust these man. They will actually do it, man. That's what they'll actually do. Also, in other news, we've confirmed that John Murtaugh and Darren Fletcher are definitely the ones that will be talking to players and clubs, not Matt Judge and not.
Where's that been confirmed from?
Laurie Whitwell. Okay. He's confirmed that. So there's a little bit of hope in terms of those two lads are not involved in the football negotiations.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Danny's with us as well. What are you saying, Danny?
Well, we knew that already. That's not new news. You've just calmed down, KJ, and now you're processing all the information. That's all it is.
No,
But
no,
I
it's
appreciate-
confirmation.
no, but you
bro.
know what it is. But no, but we knew that already. The structure. Listen, that statement from Manchester United about the structure. That's as much information as the Glazers and Wood was ever given us about anything, right? So the information was there. You were just angry and suspicious, and we need that anger and suspicion from you, KJ, because we know how the football club is run. Look, in regards to United's transfer budget, Terry, you understand this. Unfortunately, we're cash business people. Our cash reserves impact what we spend in the transfer window. It's as simple as that. So because of COVID, our cash reserves were depleted. They were over 100 million last year. They were down to 20 million, which is why we took a loan of 60 million. Now our cash reserves are at 80. That's where the media are getting this 80 million transfer budget from. So as much as what KJ was saying before, I agree to an extent, but you need to understand the impact of COVID is real. If there was no COVID, our cash reserves would be at 150, 200 million again. And we'd be spending more money. That's just a fact. So as much as I hate the Glazers, and I agree with you, they're pagans, etc., the reality is the business model is the business model. We're a cash business. The amount of cash we have available dictates how much we spend. And what I would say is this. I tweeted out some information that I found about Liverpool's move to Liverpool's transfer for Jota. I don't know if you saw it, but Terry, they only paid 5 million for him up front. So imagine, so that explains why they didn't go for Werner, because I imagine Chelsea paid that 50 mil, probably 60 or 70% of that up front. That explains why, what I'd say is this. If we have 80 million, how about we don't put 50 million down pounds? We don't put 50 million down for one player. How about we put 15 down? How about we put another 15, 20 down for another? Do you know what I mean?
And Danny, that's what I would say about this. I totally understand the business model and what's available. My frustration is more to do with the fact that our club have just sold our owners have sold 100 million pounds worth of shares, and they're doing that for their own personal gain. Good owners in this circumstance who are billionaires will say, we'll sell that, we'll pump it back into the football club. That's my frustration with the Glazers. Now, they have no obligation to do that, but it's what I think great owners should do. It's what Sheikh would do. It's what Roman would do. They work out a way of pumping additional money into a football club to make it sustainable. In terms of the directors of football then being involved, well, that's what we've got to hope. And like I said last week, I will remain very skeptical of the new process and the new operation until I see it yield results, until I actually see a change, if that makes sense. I'm not saying they're not trying, but I want to wait I want to see proof in the pudding. I want to see some fruit first. I want to see how it tastes to make sure that it's been done properly. And if we can arrange deals like that, if they have the ability to negotiate, build the relationships and do a deal where we bring in Declan Rice from West Ham and we say, okay, look, you're going to get Jesse Lingard and we'll pay you 30 million pounds. That's the deal. But we're paying you 7 million pounds cash in the first year, and then the rest of it comes along later. If we can start structuring our deals in that way, meaning we can bring in 3 or 4 quality players without having to sell 2 or 3 quality players, then I will hold my hands up and say, well done to the board, well done to the director of football. We're now operating like a big club in these circumstances. Only then will I say I'm comfortable with it. It just,
however,
until I see it, I can't back it. Because
Danny knows.
But this is my concern, Terry. So they're briefing everybody we're going for 2 top targets. That tells me you might want to do what you've been doing all along and paying 60, 70% up front. Why? Why do you want to pay 50 to 60% cash up front for a player when clearly that's not what everybody else is doing? That's what pisses me off.
I agree.
You know, it is.
And these men understand finance. Sorry, KJ. These are finance people. Look how they finance our debt. 600, 700 million, but you're paying 10 to 30 million on it every year. You've been doing that for 2 decades.
You know the issue is not understanding how to structure it. This is my thing with with Judge and Woodward and the man that have been doing our negotiations. I don't think it's about understanding how to best financially structure something. The biggest issue I believe they've had through certain journalist conversations and everything else is they lack emotional intelligence. These are high-level business people, mathematical geniuses. You know, these people that work at the high end of banking, people all think they're like Jordan Belfort, whatever, Wolf of Wall Street, like good looking, slick, like Jack the Lads. They're not. They're mathematical geeks. Like they have no emotional intelligence. And I believe they were in these negotiation rooms talking to people, and there was just, we can take them for a ride. And then Man United were always left in a situation where it was a case of either pay it in the way they want or you don't get the player. And they were like, oh, let's just pay it then. And that's why you need better negotiators, actually just people with better people skills that can generate and build the relationships to make things benefit. We've got Ads on the line with us as well here. Ads, what you saying, bro?
I'm not bad. Big up to the panel. But to be honest with you, if that's our budget, to be honest with you, I'm not surprised. I mean, this club just accepts mediocrity and it's just taken us down. And we're never going to fully achieve or complete that 100% goal and getting what we want in terms of players. And you know, for those who want Ollie out, an actual good manager, because they just don't care. They just don't care. And as soon as I saw that budget this morning, I've just woken up and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm not surprised at all. There are actually people who are so angry right now, and I understand it, but I've had to tell a few people, you know, like, what do you really expect? I mean, this club accepts mediocrity, and you know, like you said, they're just not good enough. And if they do, which they're not, if they do go and we get some experienced people that actually will do their job and actually care about the club, then we'd be in a way better state right now, and we wouldn't have even fell into this hole in the fucking first place. But you know, these people are going to stay forever. I'm trying to say,
just on what Danny said, and we said it at the top of the show, that it's unlikely to the budget is to spend on players. It doesn't mean we'd spend it all in one go. That's not, generally speaking. And we've had the likes of Kieran Maguire and Dr. Rob on here before talking about this. If there's say £100 million budget, it's very rarely £100 million budget of cash to spend. It's we will commit to £100 million worth of purchases, which will be paid over a period of time. Depends how good you are at structuring. Now, often you see you say it's a 5-year deal for a £50 million player.
Yeah,
it'll cost you £10 million year one, say. So if we bought, for instance, 4 players at 50 million this summer, I'm not saying we wouldn't spend 250 million pound this summer. We'd spend 50 million. So maybe the club can structure it in a way where, well, we've got 80 million pound cash. We only need to spend 60, 70 million this year. But it's trusting them to negotiate that. We tried doing it with Harry Maguire. We missed out on the first summer of getting him for 50 million spread over a 5-year period. And we ended up the following year spending nearly 80 million pound on him in a cash lump sum. That's what we can't allow to happen again. And I think that's why I look at the Declan Rice as a prime example. Haaland's going to be difficult. That's why Haaland's almost impossible for Manchester United, because you've got City and Chelsea looking at him that have the ability, especially City, to say, we'll pay it all in cash now, but we want it at a X rate. And Dortmund might look at it and go, oh, Man United will pay 100 million, but City will pay 80 million. But Man United, it's going to take us 5-6 years to get the 100 million quid, where we're going to get 80 million cash up front. It's like buying a car. You know, we've all bought a car where we've gone, listen, I know you want $5,000 for it, but would you take 4.5 for cash? People are like, they do sometimes. A car dealer might do that. This is where we need to be savvy. So when I look at the Jesse Lingard deal, if Lingard keeps performing like he is now to the end of the season, he's doing Man United a serious turn, because he's behaving like a 25 million pound player in the Premier League, scoring these goals.
Yeah,
so you're right. Declan Rice, you want 60. We've got a 25 million pound player. There's a surplus there. Of that surplus, we'll pay you, as I said, 7.5, 8 million up front, and the rest over a 5-year period. You could convince West Ham to do that when you've got football men like Myrtle, like Darren Fletcher, sitting in that room negotiating and talking about it. If we do that this summer and we pull off 3 or 4 quality signings like that with great structures, as I've said, I apologize for being even skeptical of this new setup. Equally, then, puts a lot more pressure on Ollie to go and deliver if he's keeping quality and adding quality, and everybody's got to be reciprocal. And I think that's the big argument that comes out here with Man United is this. I blame the board for a lot of the problems where we are. If the board fix up and start operating properly, there's less excuses for managers, and that has to work simultaneously with one another.
Terry, he's out himself. Look at him. Look at him. Look at it.
Glazers in, Ollie out. Wow.
I love you. Okay. Come on the air. Come on the air and explain.
He's a troll, bruv. Listen, Ads, thank you very much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it, bro. We're going to go to some more callers now. Make sure you're all smashing that like button, please. Nearly 1,000 people tuning in this morning. One question I did want to ask you before we go to more callers. Are you happy that it's been reported that Man United are not looking to bring Ronaldo in? Is that a good move?
Yes.
Yes.
And again, I love CR7, but absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Let the man retire in peace, bro.
Why are you laughing, Danny?
Because we're so in the mud. Like, so the football club were never going to do it, but we have to champion the fact they never had the thought to. Like, oh my god, man!
It's true. Next caller we're getting on is going to be Zach. Zach's on the line now. What are you saying, Zach?
Put your thumbs up like Thiago if everybody's okay. I just want to say Ronaldo's signing could be a good signing for Manchester United. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, bro. Yeah, why would it be a good signing?
Yeah, like the money. You get a lot of money, isn't it? You increase your budget next year after Ronaldo leaves. As a Chelsea fan, I'm not surprised. I'm just laughing at this.
You're wrong. Sorry, bro, you're wrong. You're wrong. Ronaldo's a financial burden because he cost 25. Well, he's costing Juventus after tax 25 million euros, right? And
but they got a lot of money. His shirt sales.
Okay. So look, let's do away with this myth because Terry's spoken about this a lot. Football clubs and shirt sponsorships get guaranteed money. They don't get nothing up from the shirt sales. That goes to Adidas. That goes to Nike. Blah blah blah.
They got 120 million. Plus.
No.
What?
Yeah.
What?
No, it's a myth. It's a myth. Unless you have a shirt deal where you get profits, and most football clubs don't because they want guaranteed cash. So they can speculate on the guaranteed cash. They don't. Furthermore, you only sign Ronaldo as the final piece if you have a complete back four, a complete midfield. And
yeah. I understand that.
So if United sign Ronaldo, we're not getting a centre back. We're not getting a central midfielder. We're not even going to strengthen.
Yeah, not now.
No, do you know?
Wait. If you're saying not now, when the man's 36, bruv.
I was going to say the same thing.
37.
No, when he's 40 kg, that's when we want him.
Listen, Zach, bro. I hear what you're saying, but the thing is, he's going to cost around 350 to 400,000 pound a week bare minimum. If you're going to pay someone that level of salary, break the bank for Haaland, because Haaland actually, from a marketing point of view, has got more legs on him over the medium to long term than Cristiano Ronaldo does in the short. You're already seeing it now that Ronaldo and Messi are always going to be famous. They're always going to have big social media followings. But the line of sight is being moved to Mbappe and Haaland as the future GOATs and the head-to-head competition. And what you're going to start to see soon is all the young kids, all the youngsters slowly move away from Messi and Ronaldo and start planting their camp, their flag in one of those camps. So from a marketing point of view, although they're always massive, and by the way, look, Maradona, God rest his soul, and Pele could still sell out auditoriums now. And if they're doing an after dinner speak, like they're still massive now. They're always going to be big names and stars. But in terms of contemporary football marketing, I would put that money into signing a Haaland, signing a Sancho, signing somebody that's got 10 years of being able to generate additional income for you. Zach, thanks for your call, though, mate. We really appreciate it here on the terrace. Next up, we're going to have, who we're going to put on next? We're going to get Tonio on. Welcome back to the show, mate. What do you want to say?
Hey, the biggest problem we have right now is the board. At the beginning of the season, I'll be honest, I was Ali out. But as I saw him with the rough time we had, and he's always keep winning or drawing. We're not losing a lot of games. So I think the biggest problem is the board, and they're not backing him. So as a fan base, I think we need to get behind Ali and focus our attention on the board. Also with the Haaland situation, I can see United signing him because they like big signings like that. And I saw the other day that when we signed Pogba, his shirt revenue gave us 190 million in 3 weeks. So I think they're looking at that and seeing that they can make a lot of money back.
I mean, they yes and no. We have to be very careful with these commercial deals. So as Danny already said, Man United don't currently have a deal where we earn a percentage of the shirt sales. However, in terms of renegotiating shirt deals, when you start selling above and beyond, so every club will have a target amount. So every time you get a sponsorship deal, there's a limit of, well, you've got to do this many units before you get certain amounts. You've got to be in these types of competitions to keep getting this money. Let's just say Man United bring in Haaland and the shirt sales go through the roof. Where that benefits Manchester United is when it's in the other direction, when they get to turn around and say, we want to renegotiate a deal, or another provider comes in saying, well, we'll buy Adidas out for X and we'll pay you extra because we want to have Haaland walking around we want to have Haaland and I can't remember his name now, Marcus Rashford, etc., walking around in Nike kits rather than Adidas. Then you can negotiate better deals with your current providers. The only team in the Premier League that have a deal that would significantly benefit them through shirt sales is Liverpool, where they get, I believe, around 15 to 20% for all Liverpool branded Nike merchandise. Of course, that's hit them hard this year because They haven't sold as many pieces of kit because the world's broke. Like 1 billion people have gone into poverty because of COVID. So that's where that kind of deal isn't as beneficial for them because the lump sums are not as high. So yeah, it will help signing these big stars from a medium to long-term point of view, but you won't see additional money straight away on these deals. Tony, thank you very, very much.
Wait, 1 second. Before you go, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, go on, mate, go on.
How does you believe that United can sign Haaland? Well, so what do you think of this news of the 80 million transfer budget? That ain't how much Haaland's gonna cost. You know what I'm saying? So, do you feel like it's right then?
No, I think the budget seems right, knowing what we know about the board. But I think they could do like a installment and not go all the way in. But that means like all the money is going that way then, which leaves us vulnerable at other areas. So it's either they're just trying to go all in and buy Haaland, or I don't know. But it sounds right about the transfer budget. And
can I ask you gentlemen a question? Do we think the transfer prices are still going to be the same because we have a massive amount of money missing from the football, from the football economy because of COVID? So what if the market resets itself? Type of thing.
You are right.
Neymar did years ago for the astronomical price. What if the 80 million may be enough for everything we need? Again, hypothetical. I'm just asking. Is that a possibility?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It could be enough for, again, it depends how this is structured. And I would want to ask someone like Dean Jones this. Is that total amount that can be spent in terms of commitment on players, or is that the total cash reserves that we can spend this summer? If it's total cash reserves we can spend this summer, if our new DOF, John Myrtle, and Fletcher can negotiate the deals right, we could buy 4 stars for that amount of money, 5 stars, depending on how we structure those deals, how much cash we have to put up front. Our problem in the past is we've been so bad at structuring these deals and getting what we want that we've had our pants pulled down and our backside slapped, and it's damaged us. I always use the Maguire example as key, where we should have been spending £10 million a year over 5 years on him. Instead, which by the way makes him a lot easier to sell 2 years in if you really think he's a flop, because you've actually only you've only spent £20 million of your own money. You then sell him on for 40, you're actually not making a loss on the player in terms of the cash in the organization. However, when you end up paying £80 million cash up front, that's that huge dent that then stops you going back into the market and signing somebody else, because you don't even have the cash reserves to do an installment deal. So if we can work the business, and this is where the biggest bugbear comes down. I've always defended managers under the Glazers because we haven't delivered who they've wanted in the right amount of time for the right kind of money. If you hemorrhage, people often say, I don't care how much we spend on a player, just spend it. I think that's just the most stupid, childish logic you could ever have, because if you hemorrhage, let's just say we waste £20 million on every signing and we sell every player £10 million, £5 million cheaper than they should be. If you buy 2 players each summer and you sell 2, you're burning 40 to 50 million pound of cash a year. That's essentially what we've done since 2013. Is every summer the Glazers have walked into the car park of Old Trafford and set 30, 40 million pounds on fire that we needn't have spent in the way we did it. And that, again, that's why we have no strength in depth. And I've said it many, many times. The only 2 teams that I really and truly accept in my heart of hearts as being on par with us on a consistent basis in the league should be Chelsea and City, because financially they're the only 2 that should be able to compete with Manchester United, even with all of our debt, even with our owners. It's about using our money sensibly. So whenever I hear Man United fans say, but Jose was backed, but Ollie was backed, they weren't. In total money spent, of course they were. But half of that money was hemorrhaged on the wrong players, in the wrong structures, and too much salary being spent. We did one of the biggest contracts in Premier League football history on Alexis Sanchez. And 2 days after he joined, he's like, why am I here? I don't really want to be here. I basically got hoodwinked by all the money and then didn't want to be here anymore. So we had a guy earning 350 grand a week. When he played and scored, that was like raising to like 500 grand a week. That money, let me explain a little thing to people. I don't mean to sound condescending. When people say if you lose money, you can always earn money back. No. Once you lose money, that money's lost forever. You can only add back. If I lose £1 million and then earn it again a year later, I've still lost £1 million because I would have had 2 million if I didn't lose the other one. That's the biggest problem with this club. We have hemorrhaged money we've leaked like a broken fridge, and it just dripped away. But back to the point Danny made, if these new DOFs and TDs make us behave better, we structure these deals right, the £80 million could be enough to move forward. But if we see Martial and Pogba and Bay leave, and Declan Rice, Jadon Sancho, and Ben White arrive, we haven't improved the squad. And we're still going to be stuck in the same situation where one or two injuries, a bit of rotation, and we're too threadbare to move forward.
One thing Ollie out is they bring up the number 300 million we spent or whatever. It's 330, 315, 320, whatever it is. This is what they miss, right? 150, or what, 100, 130 of that is just Maguire and AWB. Literally. So what's that? A third of that total Ollie has spent is on one player. Ahmed, Diallo, Daniel James, and Palestri, I believe that comes to what, about 60 million, Terry? Yep. So 3 players who aren't even for the first 11 or really for the first team. So think about that. Of that 300 mil, I'm not good at maths off the dome, but I'm talking, what's that? That's about what, 60% of that money spent on 2 players and 3 players who aren't even in the first team. And you say a manager's been backed. You judge whether a manager's been backed by, what does my first team need? We need players for the first 11. Did we get those players? No. Ollie out is you all agreed our summer was trash. Then when the season started, you were like, oh, we need to walk this back. He's been backed based on the money. Come on, man. Just be consistent with your logic.
It's true. It's so true. Listen, Ollie needs criticism where Ollie needs criticism. There's no doubt. You know, in-game management, who he puts into his starting lineups, his tactics, his man management, etc. All of that stuff, Ollie's accountable for. But like I've said, remove Ollie from the equation. The way the Glazers have bought and sold has been the same under every single manager. We bought Fellaini that nobody wanted. Even Moyes didn't really want Fellaini. He was pushing for Thiago Alcantara. He was pushing for Cesc Fabregas. That's who he wanted.
No, you're wrong, Terry. No, you're wrong. He cancelled the Thiago deal. He cancelled it.
Yeah,
he's an idiot. He cancelled it. He's an idiot.
No. He cancelled. And I swear.
Hang on though. With what we've seen of Thiago so far this season, maybe Moyes saw what would happen. Maybe Moyes said he saw it was
Right, he also cancelled Tony Cruz.
Yeah, supposedly. But then
No. That was that Van Gaal or was that?
That was Van Gaal, I believe. But
Van Gaal did that. Yeah.
The point I'm making is, did he say no to Thiago because he was told by the club that we can get you Cesc? And maybe, like, if at that time in 2013, if somebody said you could have Thiago or Cesc Fabregas, that was a genuine conversation where either of those 2 players would have been amazing for you. So it's not what they went on to do from that point. At that moment in time, I can understand that decision. But we ended up buying Fellaini a week later so we ended up buying Fellaini for more money than his clause was the week before, which means you weren't trying to buy him a week before. Otherwise, you'd never do that. You know, we have made these mistakes. So not only did we buy Fellaini and not land the number 1 targets, we overspent. We then went and bought one Mata for like ridiculous, like 37 million pounds.
And sorry, Terry.
And we never played him as a 10. It's crazy.
Bro,
it's mad.
You brought up some serious trauma. What was Fellaini's release clause before we paid the 35, 40 mil for
25 mil?
Hang on a second.
I think it might have been 18. Listen, I forgot about this. I forgot how incompetent this whole thing was.
No, so what he had a it was more than that. He had a 23 million pound release clause, but we bought him a few days after that for 28 million. So we spent it's 5 million quid. But even if you think about this, right? I look at this now. Man United, all right, have signed since Fergie left. Man United have signed only one player that summer. It's mad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm doing proper first teamers only. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. We signed 30 players. If we overspent by £5 million on just all those players, in that same logic, as some it would be more than 5, some it would be less, right? So you just say that it's 30 players. Let's just say around that £5 million mark, right? It's 150 million pounds we've hemorrhaged just on that level. I think it's more. Plus how much we paid in salaries. You're talking 200 or 300 million. That's why we have a lack of depth. There's 2 reasons we have a lack of depth at Man United. One, because we've overspent by 200 to 300 million pound on player fees. So that's signing them salaries and agent fees. 200 or 300 million pounds. Equally, we've tried to build squads for 3 or 4 different managers, meaning you have these weird hybrids where it doesn't quite compute. That's why I hope this director of football approach works. I pray to my bones they stick to it and they let these individuals build something where it doesn't matter from manager to manager, the squad's a squad. And you see that, by the way, when Ollie does leave, whether he's sacked, whether he leaves in a year or 2, if the new manager comes in and within 12 months has sold 10 players, you know that we're not building for a sustainable model. It's still manager based at that time. I don't think we're trying to do that though. I do think the club have realized, like the Glazers probably look at it like, well, actually, so John Murto, you're telling us we've wasted £300 million in the last 8 years. Yes. Well, we'd rather have that £300 million in our pocket. So let's put up. So the irony in it is the Glazers would have more money for themselves if they run the club properly. This is the stupid part about it. If they actually run it properly, they'd have more money. And if we were run properly and we created a model that could win us big trophies again, people would care a lot less about the debt and they'd care a lot less about how much money they take out of the football club. That's why they're dumb, bro. That's why I look at them and just think,
no, but like, this is why I keep telling people we can get out Woodward if we keep pointing out he may make money for you, but you'd have more money in dividends if he didn't waste the football resources the way that he does.
No,
and low key, how do we know that hasn't happened? But this whole PR thing has deflected from the fact he's actually been, from the footballing operation standpoint, he's been demoted. I know that's not the news that's coming out, but why have the Glazers all of a sudden said Woodward ain't even point of contact now? So Terry hasn't seen the story. So Laurie was saying Woodward is no longer point of contact for transfers, Terry. He's not involved at all.
And that's do you know what's interesting as well? This is where the pressure comes from. So last year, we saw from a lot of people, I swear Fabrizio said this, and it may have been another top transfer journalist. You basically said people don't like Woodward.
Yeah.
That for me was damning. But it was damning news because that's what's needed here. And this is the point. Fans making consistent noise about the way we're run resonates into the dressing room. Talking about hemorrhaging money, pulling away, boycotting. If the Glazers, I've said it all along, if the Glazers only care about money, that's their weak point. And that is their weak point is going. I was watching Sherlock Holmes, the Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman thing the other day, and there's this great little mini 2 episodes where this like, I think he's based on Rupert Murdoch. He's this character that's like a media mogul, and he basically like says he needs to get to the Sherlock Holmes' brother, right? Because Sherlock Holmes' brother is the most powerful man in England. He's like, how do I get to Sherlock Holmes' brother through Sherlock Holmes? How do I get to Sherlock Holmes through his weak point, which is John Watson? And how do I get to John Watson's weak point, a guy through his wife? This is the point. The weak spot of the Glazers is money because they want it. So you go after their money. You either stop it from coming in or you show them that they're wasting money because of how bad the operation is. As soon as that started to happen, starts to happen, you literally see the world change. We're going to go to some more callers now. Who's coming on first? We're going to go to...
Bring him back, Terry. Bring him back. Bring him back.
Are you talking about my man, Donny?
No, the other one.
Safe is with it. Safe, welcome to the terrace. What do you want to say?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Yeah, bruv, you look like a chewed up John Travolta this morning, bruv. What are you saying?
Nothing much, man. I just want to criticize you guys on the Glazers. Please have respect on them. Matches announced. Have a process. Please trust the process.
But
previously.
But hold on, Safe. To be all due respect, if the governing body, because the Glazers are very lucky, because if they were doing this in America, the governing body of that professional sports institution would actually force them out because they would be devaluing the asset. An asset like Manchester United is kin to the Yankees, which is also one of my favorite teams. If the Yankees were run this way and weren't winning anything and had no ambition, it would devalue the entire league. So you actually need them to be competitive, and that actually helps everyone eat. So all the lower teams, when the Manchester United comes to your ground, you get the charge payment prices. So that it really helps the league for that big asset to be valuable, which they have devalued.
Josh just put
I understand where you guys coming
you in a split, bruv.
I understand where you guys coming from, but Manchester United have had problems with the wage bill. Oli has addressed that. And Manchester United this season, we don't have the money to buy the players because there was no funds coming in. Man United, people couldn't buy Man United kids, so don't expect we're going to sign good players. The only way we can sign good players is to sell Marcel and Pogba, but to replace it with 5 or 6 good quality players.
5 or 6?
Listen, Safe, thank you for coming on, mate.
You know what? To be fair to Safe, like he's got half of the. He was halfway there. Then he's like, just sell Martial and Pogba.
He was no way there.
He just kind of copied what I said earlier, didn't he? Really, but
he's no way there because he said respect the Glazers, bro.
I'm not I will respect the running of this football club when I start to see it. My view is this in life: people can always, and me and Katie had some conversations about people behind the scenes. There's always room for I'm not a religious man, but there's always room for redemption. There is always room to start doing things right and to change how you feel about people. I'm not kind of unequivocal in that way. Some people, yes, there's no return for you, but others there is. The Glazers can turn this around, but they have to run the club right, and you have to do it for a period of time. You can't run it well for once. This is what I say to fans. Equally, if you're back in this new process, the world can't change in the first summer of operations. It's going to take time. Next on the show is going to be Who Knows? Who Knows? What do you want to say, mate? You're on mute right now, so unmute your line, bro. Okay, he's not ready. So we're going to put Aaron on. Aaron, welcome back. What do you want to say, Bedhead?
I'm in a better mood.
Put your chest away, please. Go on, carry on.
I'm in a better mood than I was last night. Don't forget that. But yeah, it's sort of, you get more fuming as you read that news, to be honest, because what can you do with £80 million in today's market? I mean, there is a couple of things you could do, but you look at what Solskjaer wants. He wants a right winger, he wants a defensive midfielder, he wants a centre back, and he might want another striker if Cavani leaves, which is probably looking likely he's going to leave. So, you know, I've been hearing all this stuff about this Mohamed Simakan guy who's expected to be the next Duke McConnell that Leipzig are after. Like, you don't even need the biggest names. You just need the right kind of player that could do the job. He could be someone that Man United could look into. Haaland, look, I'd love Haaland to be at Man United, but if I'm being brutally honest, if you bring in Haaland, you're not going to bring anyone else in any other position, in my opinion. And I think if you look at Haaland, he fits the system. He's a target man finisher. He's like the same as Cavani. He's a target man, but he can also be a finisher as well. So Haaland's got that Cavani-esque type striker role that he could fill when Cavani goes. He's the perfect replacement for that kind of player. So, but if you bring in Haaland, I worry they're not going to bring anyone else in. And you look at the structure of the club at the minute, you see this £80 million fee that's been thrown about all over the place. I don't trust that to be true. I think on past experience, I don't trust the Glazers to be telling the truth. And I don't trust that there's £80 million available for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this summer. And again, I said it last night, I feel sorry for him because he's doing this job. You see it in the press conferences, you see it. You know, he makes mistakes, obviously. He can learn from that as a manager. But he's doing this job with both arms tied behind his back. And I said this last night and I'll say it again. If I see the proof in the pudding, I'll hold my hands up and say, you know what, you're running the club well, fair enough. But unless there's a key structure change over the next year or two, then there's no proof in the pudding. But again, Terry, thank you very much.
Yeah, I hear you on that, bro. Do me a favor, though, bro. It's 12.
Yeah,
you're not up, showered, dressed, and doing whatever you got to do. That is not a great attitude to life. Any adult that is not up and dressed by 8 a.m. in the morning, you got problems. So make sure you're up, sir. Get your head in gear and moving forward. I'm only messing, mate.
I'm gonna be up on Saturday for Gillingham. Don't you worry about that.
I love how the Donny Rovers get you up.
You want to have a little fun fact, a little football terrace connection to Gillingham?
All right.
Maya Graham, who obviously comes on a lot of our shows, been a big part of the channel. Her brother plays for him, and he scored a goal. Right. I bet he bagged a goal against you at the weekend, brother. I bet he bags against you. I'm just saying, because you man are shocking right now.
We're on a terrible run of form, so I wouldn't expect anything else. But I just want our players to turn up on Saturday. I want us to turn up with a bit of pride in the shirt, bit of fight, bit of passion. You know, and I forgot to say this last night. Rivals lost, so we're still in fifth place.
He's all for
we've not lost any ground on anyone. It was just one bad result, and we've not lost any ground. So we've actually been saved. There's going to be times. Now, I messaged you on Twitter this. There's going to be times where we lose and we won't get saved by other results. So we need to start winning ourselves. But hopefully we get to face Arsenal in the Championship in a couple of years.
See you later on, mate. Take care. Do you know I love it back, right? Go on, mate. Go on.
Sorry. You know when we say, we need to see X, Y, Z before we start forgiving those pagans and that. Well, I did it. I gave my criteria because, like, obviously you say, oh, what will it take then? What is the actual thing? I gave my criteria, and apparently it was too harsh for people. Said it was too harsh on Woodward for this criteria. It's too harsh on the Glazers for this criteria. But I said this: I need to see 4 Premier Leagues and the Champions League until I can. I'm giving criteria. I'm giving criteria. That's what I need to see.
Listen,
you know what, KJ? Don't forgive them. Why do you have to forgive them? Say, look, I'm not going to forgive you, but I'll stop. I'll stop coming for you. I'll step down.
He's a Christian man. He's got to.
But just step down as the leader of the resistance once they deliver. But don't forget. Oh yeah, you have to. I forgot. Yeah.
No, he has to.
Fair enough.
KJ will go to hell if he doesn't forgive people if they repent. Like he has to. It's the law, isn't it?
Terry, you're messing it up.
I've read that. What's it called? That book, the Bible. I've read it. It says it in there, bruv. Like it literally says it in there. I saw that book. That book said, that book says some mad stuff as well. Anyway, I'm only winding people up. Next on the show is going to be The Bunk. The Bunk's going to be on the show, or as his real name is, Russell.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man,
There's always a joke about the name Russell. It always just make me laugh. It's like, what do you call a man who jerks off in a paper bag? Russell.
Second time. You do it again,
I love that joke. What do you call a man with a seagull on his head? Cliff. Go on, mate. What do you want to say?
All right, you threw me off a little bit with the Russell joke, but yeah, I hope you guys are good. On the Glazers, man, it's simple. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I'm with KJ on this one. You know, it's like I don't really talk about them because they're there. They're what they are, and we can't really change them. We need to accept that. Say Alex Ferguson couldn't change them, and we've got the best possible manager we could have at the moment. Doing second, people clowning him and saying Oli out and all of this. Look, I'm not even worried about them now because I wasn't worried about them when we had Pereira. So I'm really not worried about Oli Altos right now. I'm fairly impressed with what he's doing, and I think, I don't know, we shouldn't pay too much attention to it, Terry. That's what I think, in my opinion. And then quickly on the Haaland and Mbappe thing, I'll ask you guys a question. Who would you think is better for United, Haaland or Mbappe?
I would take Mbappe personally.
I would as well, because I think he's going to Liverpool, honestly, with that connection with LeBron being part ownership of the Fenway Group, and they just got Nike sponsorships. I think Mbappe is unfortunately going to Anfield.
You think?
Oh, yeah, for business reasons, absolutely. And commercial reasons, 1000%. Because LeBron likes to pull, the strings in the background. So slowly over time, I feel like he was a part of that Coutinho deal. Because once he was like, oh, I think you guys should sell Coutinho, then he went to Barca, Nike, Nike Club, Nike Premier Club. So I think
the only
I
way.
have to say, bro, I think LeBron's 2.5% stake in the Fenway Group and his power's overstated, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So
I think it's overstated.
I really want.
I was gonna say the only way that.
He just got part of the Red Sox, by the way. Don't know if you saw that. But
yeah,
sorry, Danny. Back to Russell's question. Mbappe or Haaland? If you had a choice of the two, which one would you go for?
Oh, that's so hard. I'm going Haaland.
Why?
I prefer tradition. It's been a while since I've had a proper striker at Manchester United, and I want strikers and wingers. That's all I want. I want wingers who beat people and cross, and a striker who can get on the end of it. And that's basic stuff, but we don't even do the basic stuff. And by the way, Terry likes outputs. Terry, have you looked at Haaland's conversion rate?
44%.
Yes, I have.
It's illegal. It's over 40%.
It is.
That's ridiculous.
I would take. My mind's flips on this a lot, but I would take Haaland because we've got Rashford, so we don't need Mbappe. If you're bringing in a Haaland, now I know Mbappe is better than Rashford, but we don't have a Haaland type player. We've got Greenwood, we've got Rashford, we've got Ahmed, who's going to be amazing that play inside forward type roles. Yeah. So I would go with Haaland because we have those other players that are not Mbappe level, but they're very, very good. And then Mbappe there, the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. finish off those chances. That's what I would go for. If it's a choice between those two. Personally, if the choice was Sancho, Haaland, Mbappe, I'm picking Sancho. I want creativity.
Can you see what Chris George put in the chat? Can you see what Chris George put in the chat? Can you just put those 2 comments up? I want goals. I want goals, people. Guaranteed. A step over and skill is nice. Big moments are nice, but I want goals every week, and Haaland will give you that.
But
crazy.
He got to get the chances. Mbappe will get you chances and goals, similar to CR7. So I would prefer that personally. That's
but how about we move away from forwards who aren't quite super creative and aren't quite natural goal scorers, and we just get a winger who's creative and a goal scorer instead of putting these two things into one. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but Danny, that's why I asked that question about Mbappe v Haaland. That's the reason I was asking. And for me, I don't understand why as United fans would think Haaland would be better for United than Mbappe. Because Terry said, okay, you might go for Haaland because Rashford is there. But I see it as this. You play Rashford, Martial, and Haaland, and Mbappe. That's way more solving the problem that we have than buying Haaland, because Martial won't play on the right.
I
Rashford
disagree.
won't play on the right. Green,
for me,
one second.
Sorry,
let me bring it home. Martial, Rashford, Greenwood won't play on the right. The players who would play on the right in that scenario would be Daniel James and Ahmed Diallo. Whereas in the case where you bring Mbappe, all of a sudden you have a better option on the right, you have a better option on the left, and down the middle you don't have particularly your Erling Haaland, because scoring goals is not Man United's biggest problem. We're the second highest goal scorers right now, and we have out of form Martial. So scoring goals is not our problem. Our problem is the creativity in the final third. That's our problem. And people have this assumption that, we just need someone who's just going to bang in 30 goals and solve our problems. That's not our problem, guys.
Russell, can I ask you a question in response to that? If you had a choice between Sancho and Mbappe on the right, and by the way, Mbappe as an out-and-out player on the right is a myth. He's always rotating at PSG, always. He's never sticking to one of those roles. Yeah. But who are you taking on the right, Mbappe or Sancho right now?
I would take Mbappe. And by the way, you say he's rotated, and that works again towards my argument, because we've got 3 players up there who prefer to rotate. Martial is not a player who wants to stick in the box. Rashford is not a player who just wants to stick on the left. He wants to come inside. Mbappe is the same. It goes down. It all goes into all this idea of a front 3 that's fluid. So for you to say, and no offense.
It's gone. I know what he's saying. I get what he's saying. So he wants he wants a front 3 that's going to have combination between the 3, rotate between Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez, a new version of that, right? And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that train of thought. Like, I'm
here for that as well.
That can work.
Sorry. All I'm saying is my preference is give me a right winger and a ridiculous goal scorer, and we've got an inside forward on the left, Martial, Rashford. I'm happy.
How about this package then? This package. Would you take Sancho and Haaland or Neymar and Mbappe?
Oh, you're a wanker for asking that question.
Sancho and Haaland.
You know what? That's easy, actually. Haaland, Sancho, longevity. Yeah, I'm going with those 2.
Yeah, Haaland, Sancho is what I would go for. Basically, mine's more based on geography, really. Like, they understand. I think there's more likelihood that Sancho and Haaland, based on where they were born, where they grew up, would definitely work in the Premier League than Neymar and Mbappe. Now, I'm talking marginal difference. So I still think Mbappe and Neymar could make it in the Premier League, but I think there's less of a risk with Haaland and Sancho. On ability, I think ability-wise, it's there or thereabout. The one thing about Jadon and Haaland is, factually speaking, from a creative point of view, no player has created and scored as many goals as Sancho from his professional debut up to this point in his career ever in the history of European football since records began. So we have no idea what people in the 40s did for assist-wise. So we talk from the, say, 80s onwards. And Haaland is the fastest player in European football history to reach 100 professional goals. The fact those 2 have got bigger ceilings as a collective than Neymar and Mbappe. And that doesn't mean to all the fools in the back that I think Mbappe and Neymar are bad. But I think there's more chance of them working in England, because that's based on the question, them coming to Manchester United. And I think they've got big ceilings because Haaland and Sancho started their careers have been the best 2 starts from goal scoring and creative point of view in the history of European football as far as records are concerned. That's why I would go with them.
And respectfully, Neymar, but Neymar is one of my favorite players. He's not going to last the season in the Prem. Let's be honest. Let's put that up front. With all due respect, he's one of my favorite players. And with Mbappe, I feel like they're going to try to tackle him the same way they did CR7 after doing all those flamboyant tricks, which are dope. But I think they're more suited to La Liga personally.
Yeah.
KJ,
I saw that super chat.
Oh, from Indiana.
I need to address this again. People, stop saying we have the right wing covered. We don't. A man is a kid. Stop saying this foolishness. We still need a right winger. I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. A man is not the answer right now.
No, we
need a right winger.
We absolutely do. There's a comment here. There's a few things. It says, Terry, really, Terry, you are mad. Less risk. But I say less risk because Sancho is English and he grew up playing football here, so he understands it. Haaland was born here, I believe, and he started football here. I just think there's more likelihood that you're going to be able to acclimatize to it when you've already played here. I don't think it's a mad take. Do you know what I mean?
Sorry, Terry.
It really ain't a mad take.
Are we familiar with Neymar and his personality and the types of things this guy needs in his life? You think he wants to come to Manchester?
Yeah, exactly. Equally, he's a bit of a
bring his sister too, bro.
I also don't think Neymar. I don't think Neymar could cope with the physicality of the league. The fact that you're allowed to be more physical. There's pushing, there's throwing. I think he'd be like, "What's going?" I don't think he'd be able to handle it at all. Eye test here says, "You lot are crazy." Mbappe and Neymar are clear. I would rather take Neymar alone than Sancho and Haaland.
You know what? I would take Neymar and Mbappe on FIFA. For FIFA, I'm going with those two. But in real life, Haaland and Sancho.
You know what I'd say about him being clear is this. Neymar, like, they're both... one thing I say about Mbappe is done it in the Champions League, so that's cool. There's still a question mark on him around what's his league form going to be like in one of the big... I know we now put France in as top 5 leagues. That annoys me. For me, there's a top 4. There's Bundesliga, Liga, there's Serie A, there's La Liga, and there's a Premier League. And in that, the Premier League and the Spanish League are the top 2. I still think the other leagues are below in terms of overall quality, not the teams at the top of the pyramid. I'm talking as you go further down. And do you know how we know this? Even in Spain, to be fair, how often do you see the big teams in those countries are able to do like an 11-man rotation for games against the teams in the bottom 6, even when they're in title races, so they can save people for Champions League games? You can't afford to do that. Man City could probably get away with it. You can't afford to do that in the Premier League. Like, our league's stronger. So for me, what I'd love to see happen, I don't want Mbappe to go to Liverpool. I kind of do. I want to see Mbappe at Liverpool and Haaland at Man United, and then it's them two head-to-head in the league.
Messi and Ronaldo part 2, yeah,
exactly. But in the Prem, I know like a lot of people are like, oh no, the Premier League is the best league. It is.
But you know what happened? You know what happened to Mbappe?
You know what it makes it worse, Terry? There will be Mbappe at Liverpool, United at Haaland at United, but because both of them ran like crap, they'll be fighting out for 6th place together. You know what I mean?
No, I honestly those two type of players can be they're difference makers for sides. We're gonna go to some more calls now. If you want to come on and have your say, Mbappe and Neymar or Haaland and Sancho, you've got the choice to put either of those two into your team. Which are you picking? Phone in now. If we bring you on the air, that's what we're here to talk about. So tell us what you're here to think. We've got Mohammed on the line first. Mohammed, who would you bring into your club? Neymar and Mbappe or Haaland and Sancho?
I would go for Sancho and Haaland just for the long term because you'll get more years out of those players. And then if you think about it, down the line, you could potentially make a big profit on those players as well. If like a Real Madrid or Barcelona come in for those players down the line.
That's a good point, and there is more longevity. Do you think there's any like Jadon Sancho is one of the best creators in the world and has been since he made his debut, and he's creating at a level. This is why he's so special. He's creating on a level that's equal to that of the De Bruyne's of this world, and he's a baby in football terms. Like, he has got a ceiling that's higher than Neymar. Like, do you think that if Sancho joins a Premier League team, we could see him out-create and outperform the likes of KDB?
Yeah, I can see that happening. See why not? He's got a long career, I think. So he could possibly do that.
There we go. Mohammed, thank you very much for having your say. We're going to go through some more quick fire calls. The link to call-ins on the Discord server. Please make sure you're smashing that like button. Next up, we're going to have Sibs on the line. How you doing, bro? Ooh, really bad. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Who would you pick for your team?
Oh,
yeah, mate. Try calling us back, bro. Try calling us back. Try calling us back. Really bad line there. We could barely hear you. Oh, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I knew he'd phone in. I knew he wouldn't be able to resist. Man like Eye Test is backstage. He'll be on soon. But let's get this stream while we're live past 300 likes, ladies and gentlemen. And then Eye Test comes on to give us his views. Before him, we're going to go to Samuel. Samuel, welcome back to the terrace, mate. Who are you picking, Mbappe and Neymar or Haaland and Sancho?
Haaland and Sancho all day, Terry. I mean, if you look at the long term, these two are going to be some of the best players in the world. As for Neymar and Mbappe, Neymar, you know what? He's 28 now, which is shocking. You know, he hasn't done much. If you compare him to his Brazilian counterparts like Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, all these, man, he hasn't hit their levels. So I'll take people like Eye Test, yeah, they're stuck on the FIFA, yeah, instead of looking at the real world. They look at their stats, they look on FIFA, and they say, you know what, Neymar's 90 rated and Haaland's 82 rated. You know what, I'm going to go with Neymar. So people like Eye Test, you got to look. Your name is so misleading, Eye Test. Your name is so misleading. Your name is Eye Test, and you look at
this is the best. This is one of the best comments I've ever had on the football terrace. It says Eye Test would rather have Isaac and Traore. It's actually true. Listen, young Samuel, thank you for coming on and having your say. We're going to share the link in the comment section below if you want to come on and tell us who you would have. But he's going to be with us now. Eye Test is here. What you saying, young man?
Yeah, I think the disrespect you lot are showing is ridiculous, because for me, forget Neymar and Mbappe against Haaland and Sancho. I would rather Neymar alone over Sancho and Haaland. The disrespect you showed Neymar, yeah, to say, he wouldn't hack it in the Premier League and Sancho's got a higher ceiling than Neymar. You're crazy to say that. Do you remember Neymar when he was at Santos? Watch, there's a video on YouTube. Watch, right on YouTube. Right on YouTube. Why are you laughing? Listen, there's a video on YouTube. Watch, right on YouTube. Right on YouTube. The favelas will never forget Neymar. People forget what this guy did back at Santos.
Listen, bro. When I say hi, hang on a minute, bro. I agree with you that Neymar can do things with the football that Jadon Sancho can't in terms of skills, tricks, and flicks, and that's fine. But when it comes down to brass tacks, Jadon Sancho is a highly gifted, highly technical baller, right? So let's just say on ability-wise, Neymar is a 10 and Jadon Sancho is an 8. I'm happy to accept that differential between the two in terms of overall footballing ability. I believe Sancho has built a foundation at a young age in a top European league where he can go on to out-create and outscore Neymar, out-deliver for his team in more games at a higher level and for a more continual basis. And that, for me, is more important. But I said all along, you've got two players that are fairly close to each other in ability. The next level of judgment goes towards outputs. And then what you've done is discount at least what I've said around why I would pick Sancho to come to England over Neymar. Is Sancho is English. He grew up playing in the English and British football pyramid. I believe he's less of a risk of flopping in the Premier League than Neymar. So if I'm laying out £100 million plus on a player, I want to pick the person, yes, with the best ability and the best outputs possible, but equally with the least amount of risk. We already know that Neymar is a little bit of a softie. You know what I mean? Doesn't like it when he gets kicked and pushed and pulled around. I think a cold night at Stoke in a Tuesday in January in Stoke might be too much for him. And
okay, but Hazard did it.
Yeah, Hazard did do it. I know he did, but
Hazard has the mentality.
Can I get him now? Can I get him now?
One second. You haven't listened to what I've said. I didn't say Neymar. This is the problem with young people in Britain. You're all too polarized. It's either or either all the time. I didn't say Neymar wouldn't be able to make it. I said there's less risk that Sancho would flop compared to Neymar. Both could flop, but I think there's less risk in Jadon Sancho. Ability, Neymar takes it. outputs at a young age. It's Sancho, thus the higher overall ceiling.
You talk about outputs, yeah? You talk about outputs, but there's some things you just cannot measure. And I'm not talking about skills. I'm not talking about that rubbish, yeah? I'm just talking about literally coming, controlling the whole game, going to the halfway line and making things happen, yeah? Watch Neymar last season in the Champions League. When Mbappe was injured, when Verratti was injured, when he had to carry that team on his back to the Champions League final, watch the game against Atalanta, where this guy was collecting the ball from the halfway line and making things happen for his team. Sancho cannot collect the ball from the halfway line and take a couple players on and make things happen for his team.
Yes, he can. I've literally seen him do it. I've literally watched him do it. What are you talking
about? The way he dominates the game, free roams through the pitch and make things happen for his team in a big stages.
I test. I understand kind of where you're coming from to a certain degree. Who were the last 5 teams that Jadon Sancho played against? Can you name them?
I don't know.
So you don't watch him then?
Yeah.
No, I've watched Sancho, but I know.
Hang on a minute. You have no idea who he played against recently, yet you're judging and saying what it is that he can and can't do. You don't watch him, do you?
I've watched him enough. And I've also watched. I remember watching Neymar back at Santos. Yeah, when this guy
when he was 8,
he was 8 years old.
I test. Can you tell me the last 5 teams that Sancho scored against, please?
I don't know.
You didn't watch him then.
I've watched him.
If you watched him, you'd know. You're lying. Danny, go on, bro.
I can't tell you the last 5 teams Messi scored against. But I know
you would. One second, Danny. You would. One second, Danny. You would be able to say. I can tell you all the last teams that Rashford scored against because I watch him every single game. I know the last teams that all the players that scored in Chelsea's last 10 games because I watch them all. You don't know who Messi scored against, and you don't know who Sancho scored against last because you don't watch him.
Okay, you tell me the last 5 teams Ronaldo scored against.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
You don't know about Ronaldo. Tell me right now.
Do I ever claim to watch European football?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you
come on here all the time. No. You can't say what you've watched before and then leave that being overarching view. I don't watch Cristiano Ronaldo week in, week out, so I'm not going to sit here and say this season he's been the best player in Serie A or the worst player in Serie A because I've not watched him on a regular basis. I know how good overall his career is because I've watched him many, many times. You come on here consistently and name players from different leagues that are better than what we have in the Premier League, but you don't watch them. You're basically
because I've watched them before.
No, but
I've watched them before.
You haven't watched them. You don't even know who they've played. You don't even know who they scored against. Madness over the years.
You can't ever say Messi's one of the greatest ever because you've never watched him week in, week out. Don't tell me you've ever watched 5 games in a row that Barca's played. Don't ever tell because you're a liar. You never watched Barca play 5 games. So you can't ever talk about
calm
Messi,
down, bro. It's okay. Calm down.
No problem.
Do you know what it is?
Problem.
First things, bro. Yeah. Referencing YouTube is like going to university and putting a Wikipedia reference in your essay. Don't do that. Just don't do that. That's why we were laughing at you. Secondly, it's you know what it is. You expose yourself when you say Sancho can't do something when people who watch him know he can. That's where you exposed yourself. To be honest with you, bro. But obviously But wait. Calm down. It's cool. You rate Sancho and Haaland, right?
Of course I rate them, but they're not Neymar level. They'll never be.
Okay, they're not Neymar level. Would it be fair to say, in terms of catalogue, body of work, we've probably seen the best of Neymar? He can probably only add a few more things to his bow. Whereas with Haaland and Sancho, the whole story is going to be written now. So with that context, we're saying I'd rather take 2 players, 2 of them, not just one, 2 players who are going to give me their 20 Grammys now, as opposed to the guy who already has 18 Grammys who's going to win another 2. Do you understand that logic, Hightas?
Yes, but do you understand my logic that the stuff Neymar can do on the
Neymar,
only Messi can do what Neymar can do.
I once argued that I'd have Neymar over Ronaldinho just because of what I saw Neymar carry on his back as a 22-year-old, 23-year-old Brazil team that was garbage. Yeah, and I saw him go win the Copa America for him. I know we don't care about the Copa America in Europe, but that's like winning the European Championships. The golden generation is gone. And say, I don't know, let's say not Sean White, but let's say who's the best player in England after the golden generation? I don't even know who. But let's say that player wins a Euros on his back and Beckham's gone, Gerrard's gone, Lampard's gone, Rio's gone, John Terry's gone. I saw Neymar do that. So with that alone, I put him over Ronaldinho in one debate. But I could see the other
Neymar
side.
never played in a Copa America.
No. Yes, of course he has played in a Copa America. What are you talking about?
Never, when they won it, he never played.
Nah, he's won a Copa America, bro. I'm telling you, he's won it.
I don't know. I need to check that.
You need to check that. I'm telling you, he's won it. But
wait. So he can't. Wait. Does he not even know the player he's backing, bro? You tell him he doesn't even know the own player he's backing.
But what we're saying to you is again. So Terry, he agreed with me, Terry. Basically, what I said to him: would you take somebody who's about to win 20 Grammys, right? They're about to win all their 20 Grammys now, or would you take someone who's already got 18, is only going to win another 2? And Itest said he understands
I said,
why we're going with.
You need to look at the stuff Neymar does. I think the only player on this planet that can do the stuff he does is Messi. The way,
because but a 28-year-old with his experience is going to control games. Sancho's got all that to come. He's a baby. He's a puppy. He's 21.
No, but do you remember? I think you forget how good Neymar was.
No, we don't.
When Neymar was that age. When Neymar was that age,
bro. We're not forgetting. We are telling you. We believe Sancho is going to get close to what Neymar has done, and we'd rather see that at United than Neymar do.
When Neymar Sancho's 81 champions.
Let me just say this now. Right, okay. You do what all young people in this country now do. I would rather Sancho at Man United over Neymar, and you look at that as Terry thinks Neymar shit. That's your angry reaction, is what your brain is telling you. That's what I'm saying, and I'm not. There's a super chat here, and I want to explain this. Some this is because I don't agree with Itest, but Terry, that's a ridiculous standard. I watch every Man United game, but I cannot name Marcus Rashford's last 5 goals. Somebody typing on the keyboard.
That's me. Sorry.
Sorry. Name Rashford's last 5 goals, please. Terry, name Rashford's last teams he scored against right now.
Newcastle, Real Sociedad, Southampton, Liverpool in the FA Cup. I know he scored against Leicester on Boxing Day, and I swear he scored the game after that was against Wolves.
I don't know. Someone can confirm.
But equally, but what I'm saying to TJ here is this. What I'm saying to TJ is the only reason I put that standard to Itest is because Itest comes on here on a consistent basis every single day and says Sancho can't dribble from the halfway line. Sancho doesn't dominate teams. So he makes claims that Sancho doesn't do anything that Sancho does. Like he literally denounced. He says things before about Rashford. Rashford does nothing other than score goals. And then you look at the fact that only Bruno Fernandes in the Premier League this season has more contributions to goals outside of goals and assists than Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford has had more play in build up to goals than any other player in the Premier League, barring Bruno. And Itest comes on and says he doesn't do anything for goals. That's where I have the issue with Itest. That isn't the standard I hold everybody to, because I don't expect everybody to actually remember the and a lot of people saying, yes, I was right with the goals that Rashford scored. And I only know Rashford's because I was actually studying some of that yesterday. But the point is, I don't come on here and make claims like, I'm trying to think of one now. I don't come in here and say, Diogo Jota scores, but he's not involved in any of the build-up plays or anything that Liverpool ever do. Because that's a stupid claim, because of course he is. So when you make a dumb claim, people can hold you to a higher standard because you're making a claim that you watch Sancho to such intricate detail that you know for a fact he's never dribbled from the halfway line with the ball. He's never taken on a couple of men and scored. He's never been the man of the match and the star in the build-up play to Dortmund winning the game. That's wrong. He doesn't even know the last 5 teams Sancho played against, let alone scored against. Like, he doesn't watch him enough to have an opinion of that level. So I was very pedantic, and I was very much over the top with how much knowledge you should need to have. But I was proving a point that he doesn't even watch him. He doesn't even watch Sancho play. And to your point around Lionel Messi, have I ever watched 5 Barcelona games back to back? No. I also don't think that Ronaldo is the greatest player ever. I think it's Cristiano Ronaldo. But I know that Messi's as good as he is because of the consistent performances at the highest level of games over a 15, 16-year period. You don't need to watch him to do that. The difference is, I'm not claiming here that Sancho is unequivocally better than Neymar and Neymar is trash. I'm saying based on potential ceiling and the fact that he's played in England before and he's English, I would be less of a risk of failure than Neymar. That's why I would pick him. There's zero disrespect put on Neymar's name. I'm talking about less risk. You come on here throwing all sorts of madness around, disrespecting Jadon Sancho. Can't do this, can't do that, doesn't do this, doesn't do that.
I'm not disrespecting Sancho. You disrespected Neymar by talking about how he wouldn't do as well in the Premier League.
I don't think
and
he
at
would.
Stoke City.
I don't think
He would destroy the Prem.
Well, hold on, I don't know if he actually would, only because Neymar doesn't have that hunger. This is why we're comparing, you know, Haaland and Mbappe and the likes of Jadon Sancho, because their ceiling is higher because they have that hunger. Neymar has
You said Neymar don't have hunger.
jet. He's chilling. He's chilling in Brazil right now. Probably he probably not even on
eye test. What you're doing is taking your opinion of someone, and because someone's disagreeing with it, you're now treating as a disrespect towards the player. Terry's never said that he can't do it. He said he would fail. He said he would find it harder in England because it's a fact that England is a harder league. What you're doing is this disrespectful thing because you're saying someone can't do something when they clearly can.
Let me give you an example here of that same thing. So people trying to catch me out here. You claim Kane is better than Lewandowski. And you're right. I don't watch Lewandowski as much as Kane. But I don't slag Lewandowski off when I do my compare. I don't say Lewandowski can't do X, can't do Y, can't do Z, doesn't do this, couldn't do that, doesn't do this. That's a false claim because I don't watch him enough to make it. I've also said that I think they're about on par with each other. That's the difference here. I haven't said one thing. I haven't said that Neymar can't do it in the Premier League. I said, in my opinion, there's less risk of failure. Nothing to do with ability, to do with the fact that Sancho grew up playing here and Neymar didn't. At the end of the day, it is less. It's why when you buy a player from a Premier League club, it's generally more expensive than when you buy the same player, same quality from abroad, because you are almost buying the guarantee that they're going to make it at your team because they've already been a success in the Premier League. It's why those premiums exist. Nothing I'm saying is disrespectful to Neymar. I'm talking about being risk averse, as opposed.
I think Premier League fans are the most arrogant fans on football.
Why?
Because
Why?
the way they act like the Premier League is way better than all the other leagues, and they act like
stop. Right, test. So you can. When we say harder, I'm not even referring to ability. The reason that Premier League fans say this is because of the dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of accounts, i.e. Timo Werner just this year, who has come out and said the physicality and speed of this league is mind-boggling compared to what he was used to. It was unexpected. Listen to what Patrice Evra said about his first 6 months of playing football in England, the timings of games, the intensity of the games, the speed of the games compared to what he grew up playing. That's what makes it harder. That is what makes it harder. It's not, fans haven't dreamt this up from nowhere. If it was just fans in the pubs and in the terraces saying, it's because it's harder and more physical, you'd have a point. The players have said this to be true on hundreds of occasions. So it isn't about fans being arrogant.
No, I'll tell you why I think they're arrogant.
But it's not about, you don't have a claim for arrogance.
I'll explain it to you. Because the reason why I say it's arrogant.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. You're not explaining something. The players have told us that. It's not about, but there's no point you finishing. Are you saying the players are all lying?
I'm saying it's arrogant because a lot of Premier League fans say, you need to do it in a Prem to prove you're this and that. But if you look at the top 10 players of all time, only Ronaldo has played in a Premier League. You can't tell me any Premier League player is in a top 10 of all time. Maybe even in how many Premier League players are in the top 10?
Listen, Ites, you're conflating two different arguments. Saying that you can only be the best in the world if you played in the Prem, that is arrogant. But that's not what I said on the show, and that's not what we're talking about. I think there's less of a risk of players have already played in the Premier League or grew up playing in the English pyramid of failing in the Premier League and not being able to adapt to it and not being able to adapt to life in Britain. If you're English, moving back to England's not going to shock your system. If you grew up here, it's not going to shock your system.
Just like every other league.
Of course,
that's every other league in every other country.
Oh, I nearly snapped. Exactly like every other league. Which is why, if you're a Spanish team and you're looking for a right winger and you've got a top Spanish star and a top British star, there's less risk of the Spanish star failing than there is the English star. It's not about disrespecting other leagues. It's about looking at factual information. Now, you are conflating two different arguments together to try and create a point, and they're not the same debate. Saying that you can only be world-class if you've done it in the Prem is stupid and arrogant. I agree with you. But that isn't what we're talking about. So you bringing it up is ridiculous. It's a false equivalence. And it doesn't have any place in this debate at all. I haven't said that Neymar can only be considered world class if he does it against Stoke on a cold Tuesday night. What I said was, I think it's less likely that Sancho would flop in England than Neymar. Not because he's a bad player, but adjusting to a new climate, a new culture, and a new league with a speed and physicality which many top stars have come to and said they just couldn't adapt to it. There's less risk with Sancho. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree because
based on what?
Because I also grew up playing in London. Yeah, does that mean I'm more likely to do better in the Premier League than Neymar, who did it in the Champions League final?
Sorry. I test. You don't get it, do you? If you take yourself and a kid who grew up in Spain and pluck that kid from Spain in England, wherever you played your football, and say you guys are the same level, the chances are you would find it easier to play than the kid from Spain, because he would have to adapt. Doesn't mean
Neymar would still be more likely to do it in the Premier League.
It doesn't mean that kid from Spain is crap. It just means that kid needs to adapt.
It's like, bro, it's like anything in life. It's like anything in life, right? If the Spanish kid is 10 times a better footballer than you, it's more likely he'll make it. You're talking about like people being at the elite level of the spectrum. This is why this debate is actually getting boring now, because you're not listening to what's being said. Nobody has said that Neymar would unequivocally flop because he isn't this, he isn't that. He ain't English, he can't make it here. No one is chatting like a gammon. I said it's less risk averse. That's all it is. If Man United announced the signing of Neymar tomorrow, you think I wouldn't be happy? You think I wouldn't be excited? Of course I wouldn't. But the question wasn't, are you happy if Neymar signs for Man United? Do you think he'll make it? It's, you've got a choice between the two. You can only pick one or the other. Who would you go for and why? And I gave rationale. You have not come here with one single argument that debunks what I said. Not one single argument that undoes my point.
I test. KJ let you off the hook
because Neymar in the high stages of football already.
I test. How could you come back with a comparison? Listen to what everything Terry just said and say, so that means you can perform well in the Prem. Oh, honestly, do you see what's wrong with that? I need to understand that you see what was wrong with that rebuttal. Please tell me you understand why that was wrong, I test.
I understand that the argument that he's making, I don't understand it. For me personally, I don't understand it.
Okay, what he's saying is this. I'll remix it for you. You've got two elite players, right? Two elite players. So Terry is saying for Manchester United Football Club, who play in England, with a player who's 20, he's given the edge to that guy adapting.
But it's a concern. The other one played in the Champions League final.
Okay, yes, you're right. You're right. And he's won this and he's won that. But all Terry is saying is it is likely, probable, that Sancho would adapt better. Doesn't mean Neymar's crap. Didn't mean Neymar didn't control the game. Didn't mean Neymar's not world-class, one of the greatest Brazilian players ever. All of those things are true, but I don't understand why you can't see the concern and the logic.
Listen, it's your opinion, but I just disagree.
It's not an opinion, bro. It's not an opinion. It's not an opinion as such.
I tried.
I know you did, but what you're not this is what you're not understanding. It's the last thing I'm going to say on this matter, to be fair with you. My opinion is it's more likely that Sancho would move forward, but it's based on the factual information in front of us that multiple foreign stars that have come to the league and said that how they struggled. And it isn't even just the pace of the league, the physicality of the league. It's adapting to life in England. You know, you're talking about a man like Neymar that has grown up in and lived in. Man, I know he's in Paris now. It's a little bit different. Warmer climates, better climates. I'm telling you now, no disrespect to Manchester, Paris is a much nicer, flamboyant, beautiful, and open city than Manchester. Things to do. I remember when I used to look after a lot of football players at Swansea City. Lorente was there as a player. I remember chatting to, also at the same time, Claude Makaleli was one of the assistants there. And I remember chatting to Claude. We were in one of these, it looked like a cinema room. We were just doing some stuff to do with their banking in there. And I sort of said, like, Lorente, how are you finding it here? And same question to Claude. And they both just looked at me and said, it's beautiful for about the first 2 weeks, but there's nothing to do. And they're finding it boring. And they were looking for ways out already just because there was nothing to do there. Now, I'm not saying Manchester's as boring as Swansea, but that also plays a part in this. Jadon Sancho is less likely to find Manchester in England boring because he grew up here. He's got friends here. His family's here. It just these things make a difference, and that's all I put up and said. For you not to understand that, and for you not, it's like saying this: who's more likely to make it a Brazilian team in Brazil, Jadon Sancho or Neymar?
Well, Neymar would be more likely in both.
Well, that's cool, bro. You're a funny guy. Listen, I appreciate that. Take care of yourself, mate. Speak to you soon. Keshi's with us. What do you want to say, mate?
No, I just hear all the what's been being said and everything. In terms of remembering who scored the last few goals or things like that. Listen, you can watch a player very extensively and you won't even remember after things they've done. I remember being at Wembley watching Aaron Ramsey scoring the winner. Didn't remember who assisted him. You know what I mean? So you can't really look at things like that. And in terms of the Neymar thing, like, listen, Neymar's an incredible player. But if you're going to say, if you look at his past history and missing the big games and things like that, I think the media would destroy him in England. I don't think he will cope with that. I generally don't.
Well, that's the other side of it as well. And look, your point that you said there about me saying who did he score against or whatever, I
understood why you said it.
I was being facetious because I don't believe he watches Sancho, and he was denying that Sancho does any of these things.
Yeah.
If I'd have said to you in that game, I don't know who assisted Aaron Ramsey myself in that game. If I'd have said, let's just say who did assist him?
It was Giroud.
If I'd have said to you, like, did Giroud lose? Did Giroud do X, Y? Did he make any good runs in that game? No, didn't make any good runs. Never played any good passes. If you just announce that he does anything good, then I'd be like, oh, you ain't watching him. And that's what I think eye test was doing. Eye test does it all the time. Mm-hmm. Instead of just saying, I think Neymar's better, instead of fighting Neymar's corner, he slags off the person he's up against. And I just don't appreciate that polarization because I've not said a nasty thing about Neymar. I think he's brilliant. But it's just like...
But to go against his point that Sancho does control games in the opponent's half, that's a lie. If you watch German football, like that's a total lie.
And
By the way,
he
he's
look
20.
at what he was doing in Brazil. Guaranteed, put Sancho in Brazil. He's doing the same thing because the level's whack.
But Kesh, let's make a distinction here, right? Yeah, Neymar wants to slow the game down to control games. It's intentional. Sancho's impact is the variety. He'll run off the ball. He'll interchange with people. He'll take people on. He'll impact the game that way. Neymar's a ball hog. There's a difference between being a ball hog. There's a difference between, sorry, Terry, I know you don't watch basketball. There's a difference between playing like Steph Curry and playing like, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. I'm going to dominate the ball, or James Harden, rather, he plays now. I'm going to dominate the ball versus someone who's going to go off the ball. You dominate games in different ways. That's where even his point about Neymar is a bit, you're misrepresenting the styles of the players. Like Neymar, we all watch him in the Champions League. I don't watch French football. I'm not watching that. I'm sorry, I'm not watching French football. I'm not watching it, but I watch Champions League football. He slows the game down and makes things happen. That's fine. That's cool. He's pretty good at that. That's a feather in his cap. But to say Sancho has a different style and doesn't do that, so he's not this, come on.
But that's the whole point. And again, we ended up going way off the topics here because I think it's really important to distinguish. Again, my view weren't even about the styles of play. It was just about adapt. Like, I just feel that Haaland and Sancho are less of a risk of adapting to life in England and life in the Premier League than Mbappe and Neymar. And I'm talking marginal. But if I'm making a decision, you're talking about buying those two players, you're making a £250 million decision for your club. Those kind of factors have to come into play.
I was listening to what Danny said as well, and I totally understand what Danny's saying. Like, the way football's going now, everyone just wants the extras. But for me, simplicity is key. Like, a Sancho is an out-and-out number 9, and 2 creative wingers who can either go wide or come inside. It makes everything perfect. Rather than someone like I understand people sometimes like a fluid front 3 and everything, but you can't play a fluid front 3 in every system. Liverpool's able to do that, but not every system's going to work like that. So there's no guarantee that Mbappe comes and he's a success in the Man United team. The way he's playing at PSG.
Yeah. No, I agree completely, guys. But listen, we're at the end of the stream now. I was only coming on for an hour and 40 minutes later. Man's still here. I appreciate everyone who's contributed today as ever. We're back live at 5 o'clock. Very special guest is going to be on here as we build up to the massive game tonight between Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. We're, of course, going to be live after that game as well this evening. Do me a big favor and smash the like button before you leave. Thanks to all the contributors today. Take care of yourselves.